Hello everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio. Today I'm sharing with you a watercolor and colored pencil card that I made using Arteza's already cut and folded watercolor cards that come with a envelope. So I'm taping down the card onto a piece of glass, broken glass you can see because I have taped the glass together. And I'm using these Schminke super granulating watercolors that I got. I know you guys have already heard about those, but I'll explain a little bit what granulating watercolors are and also tell you that I learned something else. These watercolors are obviously professional grade ones because you can tell by the price. The professional grade pigments are more expensive, and so the watercolors, as a result, are more expensive. Watercolors are made from pigments that are ground up and mixed with something like a binder, like gum arabic, honey. Different ones do different ones. The honey, the Mgram honey one sounds really interesting to me. I have a few of those, but watercolors will granulate. These were just designed specifically to granulate, and that means that they have taken pigments that are naturally wanting to separate, natural pigments, and mixed at least two of them, sometimes more, together into these paints, put some binder in, but then these paints separate out once they're mixed with water and spread onto the paper, and then they sink into the paper, watercolor paper, and they separate. And this creates a textured looking effect. And I think that's cool. Some of my other paints, like I have a Daniel Smith, I think it's Payne's Gray maybe, will really granulate out. Some of the regular ones that you have will do it. Also, I learned, and I didn't know this before, I learned this from someone who commented that there is a medium that you can mix with your watercolors that will cause them to granulate. And she said she uses the Winsor Newton granulating medium. So I ordered some of that. I've never used it before. I don't know what it is, but it comes in a little bottle. Looks like it's a fluid. Maybe you mix it with the water. I'm not sure, but I'm going to figure it out. But I am going to tell you that there is something that will do this to your watercolors for you to make them separate and settle like these. So now that I've explained that granulation situation, I wasn't intending to force these to granulate at this time. I just was playing with them. This was actually the first thing I made when I got the second set. That is the Galaxy, the Arctic. I can't remember what the other one is. Ocean, I think. Galaxy, Arctic, and Ocean are the ones at the top, and then Tundra and Forest are the ones at the bottom. And in case you guys missed the other video, I got these from an Etsy shop called Watercolor Hoarder, and she's in Singapore, and she puts these in quarter pans and then puts magnets on the bottom of the quarter pans and puts them in these metal tins, and it's less expensive than buying the sets in tubes. They're expensive here in the United States because they're an import, and not a lot of people have them. So anyway, what I did, I made a background to start out with using some of the blues and then purple, browns, and greens, and black at the bottom. Just making a dry on dry wash. I was, when I made this, I wasn't thinking about technique. I was thinking about making this. And so I wasn't focused, oh, should I make a wash? I was trying to make hills, like hills fading into the background with a sky. And so I applied the watercolors and I left a little strip in between each one as I was putting the colors on so that they didn't bleed. And then I went back in when they were a little more dry, and I just brushed wet water over the stripes there to blend them together a little bit. Then I have a lot of different colors of greens. This one's a blue green. I've got some other greens because there's a set called Forest, and then a couple of the other sets have colors in them that seem a little green. And I'm also doing a little blending, and I'm just creating little trees, pine trees, like coniferous, triangular, Christmas tree type trees. So I'm using a round brush, and this is still my number 8 Princeton brush. I just really love this brush. I use it for almost everything. That's watercolor. I don't use this in acrylic. And kind of patting the tip. The tip comes to a point, and so when you pat the tip down lightly onto the paper, it makes a little triangular type of a mark. And if you just keep doing that repeatedly, twisting it in different ways, back and forth, starting at the top and then moving it, turning it slightly counterclockwise and then slightly clockwise, back and forth, patting at the whole time, you'll create a tree like this where those little marks leave some white space in between. Well, not white because there's stuff in the background, but it's an easy way to create a coniferous type tree. So, happy little trees, right? That's what Bob Ross would say, only he painted in acrylic, not watercolor, but it's the same concept. So then once I had all my trees on there, I gave it a little bit of a dry, and then I wanted to add some shadows, some highlights, some contrast, something, because it was looking too much like everything was blending in together. And so I got out Prismacolor, just plain colored pencils. I've been watching a few classes on watercolor, simple beginning classes, and demonstrations of watercolor, and I've seen some people use colored pencils over the top of their watercolor, so I decided to try it. You got to wait till it's dry. And I'm just, this is now creating a mixed media, right? Because I'm putting pencils on top of watercolor. That's 2 different media. Probably even I can't remember now because when I made this, it was a couple weeks ago, but I might have even used some white pen. I can't remember if I did or didn't, but we'll find out, won't we? We'll find out together. It took me a long time to edit this video, so I'm trying to use colors that are similar but slightly lighter than the watercolor on the, let's see, left-hand side of the tree. So that creates a highlight as if the natural light is coming in from the left and hitting the trees on that side. So I'm making a highlight. And then I think I left it like that. I'm not sure I even put any shadows in. Maybe a little bit just for separating out. No, I didn't. Okay. I just put the highlights. So highlights only on the left side of the tree with pencils. And I'm taking the tape off. It's a good idea to use your heat tool to take the tape off, otherwise it wants to tear the paper. And that is done. I guess, yes, I did. I grabbed a Arteza white acrylic paint pen, and this is a fine tip, and I'm just adding even a little bit more highlight on that left side, just on the very tips to try to separate the trees. When you look out into a forest of these type of trees, it really does look like everything just runs together, but I was trying to make them separate. I made them different colors, and I wanted them to at least somewhat show up separately. So I did add just a tiny bit of acrylic. This pen isn't as opaque as the Posca, so it has a little bit more translucency, although it is an acrylic. So then I took some water. I wanted to make some type of a moon in the sky, and so I'm just using a wet brush to lift some paint, and then blotting it with my paper towel roll. Then I got a little bit of blue on my frame. You know how often this happens. every freaking time. I tape everything off, I make it so pretty, and then I get something on it. Oh, every time. So I'm trying to get it off. I'm trying to wipe it off. I'm trying to use a eraser to get it off. Nothing works, and so I decide, fine, just go with it. So I get out a gold metallic um, ink pad. This is a pigment ink pad, and I just go around and put gold on the edges, and that camouflages that little splotch of blue that I got on there. Wasn't what I wanted, but it worked. And then this is a sympathy card, so I stamped with sympathy with that same gold color and then put some fine embossing powder over it, clear. I couldn't find the gold embossing powder, which is probably a good thing because the embossing powder did not go on clearly. You know, I didn't put any powder on there to make sure that the embossing powder didn't go everywhere, and it stuck to the watercolor a little bit. So if it had been gold, there would have been gold flecks everywhere. I heated that, and then I stamped on the inside a saying, and I did put, I watercolored a little tree on the outside of the envelope too. So I hope you enjoyed this watercolor project for the month of February, which is all about watercolors at our Art Joy of Sharing art community on Facebook. If you haven't joined, there's a link below the video. Make sure you answer the questions. If you did like this video, give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment or question below. Subscribe if you haven't already. It's almost the 15th again, so there will be a new exclusive content coming out if you join the membership. That's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.